Hello everyone and welcome back. In this lesson we're going to add our first collection entity to our application. It's going to be the course entity, and we're going to start refactoring the course page, namely the course resolver, in order to use this new collection entity. The first part of our application that we're going to refactor in order to use NgRx entity is going to be our course resolver that is loading the data of the course page. So how are we going to implement this? Here is what we are about to do. We are going to check if the course that we are looking for based on its ID is already present inside the store. If the course is already inside the store, we are going to return it immediately. So we are not going to do any backend call in that case. But if by some reason the course is not yet on the store, in that case we are going to have the store load the course by sending a load request. Instead of starting here to write the new implementation directly, I recommend you, whenever you are implementing an NgRx feature, to first start by writing the actions. This is a great way to get the feature right from the start. Let's then create a new actions file. We are going to call it courses.actions.ts. And this is going to contain all the NgRx definitions linked to the courses module. As usual, let's start by defining here an enum that is going to contain our course action types. The first action type that we're going to be defining is the course requested action. So this action is going to be dispatched by the view course page in order to report back to the store that we are looking for a given course that we did not find inside the store. So let's fill in here in brackets the source of the action. This is an important convention to follow. Here is the source of the action. It's the view course page. And it's important that this source is as specific as possible. And after that, we are going to fill in here what was the event that is linked to this action. So in this case, the course requested event. That's what happened. The course resolver did not find the course with this ID inside the store, so it's going to dispatch this action. The store is then going to decide what it's going to do with this action. So this is a very important notion. The component, or in this case the resolver, does not tell the store what to do in response to a given action. Instead, it simply reports something that it has happened here locally, a course was requested, and it will be the store that is going to decide what to do in response to this event. In this case, we are going to be triggering an effect that is going to call the backend and is going to retrieve the course with that given ID. And once that happens, that effect is going to dispatch a new action, this time around the course loaded action. This means that the origin of this action is no longer the view course page. The origin of this action is the courses API call that we just made. Let's also add here the name of the event that has occurred so that we have a very readable action log in our DevTools. So these are the two actions that we're about to implement. So we're going to need a couple of classes, one for each. Let's define first the course requested action. As usual, we are going to be implementing here the action interface, and we are going to be filling in the read-only property type that we are going to point to this element of this enum. Now let's go ahead and define the constructor for this action. This action is going to take here in the constructor a public property called payload that is going to contain only one property. This property is going to be the course ID, which is of type number, that identifies what course was requested. In order to complete the design of this feature, let's now define our second action class. So this is going to be the course loaded action that, just like before, also implements action. And let's go ahead and fill in the type property. So this time around the type is course loaded. Now the constructor of this action is going to contain a payload, which is going to be the course itself. Let's remember that at this point we have contacted the backend and we have fetched a new course in response to the original course requested event. So a side effect occurred here course requested triggered a side effect backend call that is going to result in the dispatching of the new course loaded action. This means that the payload of this action is going to contain only one property of type course. Using this action, the course data is going to be dispatched to the store, and via a reducer, the course is going to be saved in the in-memory store. With the actions defined, let's now define an union type called course actions. This type is going to be a union type that is going to combine these two types. So an element of type course actions is going to be either of type course requested or course loaded. This auxiliary type is going to make it very simple to write our reducer functions, as we will see in a moment. Okay, so what we have here is a pretty good start. We have defined the design of our implementation, and as usual in NgRx, we have started the implementation of this feature by defining the multiple actions involved. Each action has an origin and it has an event. After defining the actions of your NgRx feature, I recommend that you always define just after that the state in the store that corresponds to this feature. So what will the collection of courses stored in the store will look like? Let's define the form of the courses state using NgRx entity.